In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your radiator on this Subaru Forester. Let's get started. Let's start by draining the coolant underneath the car. You'll see on the passenger side of the radiator, this is your petcock right here. As you just saw, I have a collection bucket ready to catch my fluid. And to loosen this up, you just spin it counterclockwise. Now up top, to speed up the process, let's remove the radiator cap. Now with it drained, let's cap it off so we can stop making a mess here. Make sure it's nice and snug. Grab some pliers and remove this lower hose clamp off of the lower radiator hose. Okay, now let's grab the lower radiator hose and break it free. With that lower hose disconnected, while it's still draining, let's disconnect the transmission cooler hoses if you have an automatic transmission. If you have a manual transmission, this will not apply to you. You will not have these. Keep in mind, automatic transmission fluid will come out, so have a collection bucket ready to catch the fluid. Get an 8mm socket or a flathead screwdriver and remove that clamp. With it loose enough, you can slide it back. Looks like I need to loosen it up. Maybe one more turn. There we go. And once you get this off of here, we can grab the hose, wiggle it off. This one is kind of stuck on the fitting here. There we go, that just broke free. Pull it straight back. I'm using the screwdriver to help me out. Okay. Follow the hose that we just disconnected. You'll see it's clipped on right here onto the radiator. We're gonna have to unclip this. Okay, get all this off of here. Let's take off the second hose. There we go. These hoses will be clipped on right here. Get them both out of their mounting location. And since we're here, let's unplug the cooling fan. Okay, there's a clip on the back side. This connection can stay attached. On the driver's side, right above the drain, let's disconnect the radiator fan. Back up top, let's take the coolant overflow out. Two 10mm bolts. Pull the reservoir up, and the hose is going to be clipped in at the top of the radiator, so just unclip it and move it out of your way. Let's remove the upper radiator hose. And then this hose right here that's clipped in, unhook that. On the back side of the fans, you'll see three 10mm bolts. Let's remove all three and then pull the fans out. Now the owner of this vehicle has added this aftermarket shroud here, so hopefully we can clear it. If not, we'll have to remove it. In your stock application, you may not have to remove it. Okay, looks like we will have to remove this. So in my case, it's going to be two Allen-headed bolts. Now we can pull these fans straight up and out. Now you'll notice two 12mm bolts holding the two brackets on for this radiator. Remove them both and then we can take the radiator out. There we go. There's the radiator. Now grab your new radiator. Slide it down carefully, pay attention to your fins, don't damage them. Let's put the two mounting brackets back in, one on each side. Start the bolts, let's snug them up. Okay, now you'll notice that the bracket went a little bit sideways when I tightened it, so I'm gonna back it off and correct them because I want them to sit nice and straight so that the radiator can be held on properly. Grab your fans, slide them down. They locked in at the bottom, that's perfect. Let's bolt these on. I'm actually just gonna work my way from one side to the other. Now let's clip in this hose down there and put the upper radiator hose back on. While we're here, let's just get the clamp on. Try to position it approximately where it was before, because as you can see, the hose is kind of molded around the clamp. That's going to help you get the best seal possible. Next were the 3 10mm, I said bolts earlier, but they're actually screws. Now if you had to take this cover off, go ahead and put it back on at this point. Let's get the overflow tank back in, slide it down, reconnect the hose everywhere where it needs to be clipped in, put the 2 10mm bolts back. Make sure these are nice and tight, but don't over tighten them because they're easy to strip out. Okay, perfect. Let's go underneath and reconnect everything there, and then we'll come up and fill the system. Underneath, let's put the 2 transmission cooler hoses back into their retainers, and then once that's done, you can put the lower radiator hose back onto the radiator. Okay, let's get this clamp situated on there. My clamp is actually stuck in the locked position right now. Unlock it by prying this side up. There we go. Okay. Now just make sure it's positioned correctly, which it is. That's exactly how I want it. Everything is nice and secure. Let's reconnect this hose. Make sure it's bottomed out all the way, and tighten up the hose clamp if you have one of these. Okay, let's reconnect the driver's side radiator fan while we're at it, and then clip this hose into its retainer. And reattach this hose as well. Perfect. And now reconnect the radiator fan on the driver's side. And always with new radiators, make sure that the petcock is completely closed. In my case, can't really see me turning, but it wasn't. It went a quarter of a turn still. So always double check them so that you don't get any leaks. Now let's fill the cooling system. I have the spill-free funnel, which I highly recommend for 2 reasons. 1, it's easier to fill because you won't spill it everywhere. And number 2, this is the highest point in the cooling system now, so this will actually help naturally push the air bubbles up and into the funnel and not trap them in the system. So having said that, get the appropriate type of coolant, refer to your owner's manual if you're not sure what to use, and fill this up. I'm gonna leave it about a quarter of the way full once it stops bubbling so that I have some height in here for the coolant. That way the air bubbles can travel up and out. It stopped bubbling. I'm gonna massage this upper radiator hose. A lot of times this gets out some extra bubbles. Now inside the vehicle, you'd wanna turn it on, put the heat all the way up, the blower on low, and then have the air set to blow out through the vents so that you can feel the air coming out as it warms up. You want to make sure that it does blow warm or hot actually, because otherwise you know that there's still air trapped in the system. As you run it, pay attention to the temperature gauge, which is this one right here. Make sure it doesn't go above the halfway mark. If it does, it's overheating or there's an air bubble in the system. So shut it off, let it cool down, and start over. As soon as this reaches operating temperature, you can shut it off and let it cool down, and you can take it for a road test. Let's get the funnel off of here. A little trick is to squeeze the upper radiator hose, cap the funnel, and then let go of the hose. This will prevent as much spillage as possible. Some will still spill. And then take this off and put the radiator cap on. Perfect.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.